Cool. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. For those who've been before, this is the fourth Poetry Live that we've done. For those who haven't been, I will quickly explain what I do and who I am. My name's Phillips. I work in a department store at Westwood Cross to keep me in pens and paper. I write because I have to, because it's what I do. A little bit about my background. Went to school, had the most amazing teacher, a guy called Foxwell, whose lessons were very, very practical. He would take a lesson and say, today we're going to talk about anger. I need 2 volunteers. So let's say, for the sake of this conversation, Carl and Sam. Alright, so he would say, okay Carl, I want you to hand to Sam for the next 30 seconds. So go. So Sam, whatever, stop. What did you think? Wanted to kill him? Go and write it down. And Sam, how did you feel? So anywhere but here. Go and write it down as well. So just brilliant practical sort of English lessons really. So I thought, if I'm going to be a writer and a poet and stuff like that and try and fulfil the ambition that I have, I need to go to college. And I did 18 months of nights, not one after the other, but I did 18 sort of week nights at Canterbury College. Met the most amazing woman in the whole world, a girl called Katie Machin, who to this day probably remains the best teacher I've had in my life. And one thing she taught me was about personification, just the most amazing thing. And she said, if you take the sea, then the sea can be like angry, it can be aggressive, it can be calm, it can be tempestuous, it can change, it can be sort of like, you know, all these different things. But you don't walk down Broadstairs High Street and say, hello, I'm the sea. You know, but we're giving the sea like a human trait and sort of traits and stuff like that. And she said that if you can grasp personification and her ideas and her roots and stuff like that, will just take you places you never dreamed. And to this day, the lady who was Katie Machin was so right. So that's what I do. You may have noticed the camera as you come in. We're having this filmed, so we are hoping to send it to sort of places in London. There's a whole stack of people in the States who want a copy, so who knows where it goes. So you're all part of history and you're all on Stars tonight because you're all film stars. So what I thought we'd do is we would split the evening up, just so you have a rough idea what's going to happen. The evening's split up into 4 sections. We do 2 sections now, then we have a break for about 20 minutes, and then we do the last 2 sections and stuff like that. If you want to sort of ask questions as we go along and stuff like that, feel free to do that, that's very cool. But I thought we'd start tonight with a poem about the best girl in the world. And her name is Inspiration, and she's quite simply probably one of the best people that I know. She has the ability to sort of wake me up and sort of say, get your pen at 3 in the morning, and we're saying, okay, we're going to write about this and we're going to write about that and stuff like that. To me, Inspiration, she's a piano player. She plays her show, does 2 hours, amazing, got a voice to die for, looks stunning. And instead of going to the hotel and thinking that went really well, she goes back to the home of a local poet and sort of hoping that the time she spends with him will make him better than he is. And this is the story of when she came to mind. And this is called Inspiration. Inspiration came to me in a flowing red dress. I've come to inspire you, but first I must confess, I'm partial to piano. It sets the mood just right. And as Inspiration began to sing, I began to write. She sang of a nation's heartbreak and another nation's greed. She sang for all the children who are left alone to bleed. She sang about the violence that's found in every town, and she called to us as poets to go and write it down. She sang about the breakup of a marriage and the home. She sang about the children who are left so alone. She sang about the victims, and I could hear their cries. And as she sang in heartfelt pleas, tears formed in her eyes. She sang about America and for a generation. She sang with such sincerity about the woman I call a nation. She sang of her past mistakes, she sang for her alone. And as Inspiration sang, her words matched my own. She sang for the planet, and that there's just one Earth, and how her rich resources mean much more than their worth. She sang about the climate, the rivers, lakes and trees, and how the Earth is dying, but no one really sees. She sang about the future and all that it may hold, She sang that it is ours to take, and we must be brave and bold. She sang that much had been achieved, and there's still so much to do. And she sang that the mantle had been laid down for poets just like you. Inspiration finished her song, heartfelt and sincere, full of fervour and passion, full of hope and fear. Inspiration closed the piano, the end of our time had come. Inspiration left the room, her work and my work, her work and my work done. Cool. Inspiration, best girl on the planet, is part of what we call the quartet. And Inspiration and three of her friends you will meet later on make up probably the best quartet a man could know. This is the second member of the quartet, and this is called Poetry. And this girl is just amazingly fantastic. She has the ability to build up, knock down, tear down, wake me up, do everything that she does. But most of all, she can inspire. And she can inspire me, and she can inspire you. And this is called Poetry. I've seen her stand, I've seen her fight, I've seen her dream at first light. I've seen the hope she's placed in me, this girl we know as Poetry. I've heard her speak, I've heard her cry, I've heard her laugh and question why. I've heard her call to slave and free, this girl we know as Poetry. I've seen her bruised, I've seen her drained, I've seen her broken and tear-stained. In the essence of circles, she stood with me, this girl we know as Poetry. I've seen her beg, I've seen her plead, I've seen her argue and concede. I've seen her reach to turn a key, this girl we know as Poetry. I've seen her vibrant, I've seen her grace, I've seen her shine in that dark place. I've heard her whisper, all will be free, this girl we know as Poetry. I've seen the bond, I've seen its power, I've felt its strength in the darkest hour. In the midst of storms, she soothed the sea, this girl we know as Poetry. I've seen her watch, I've seen her wait, I've seen her calm and contemplate. I've seen her inspire those after me, this girl we know as Poetry. I've seen her part in the scheme of things, in this age of visions and dreams, as she calls to all to write what we see, this girl we know as Poetry. Thank you, very kind. Okay, I said poetry could inspire not only me but other people, and I want to read a piece now by a girl called Jennifer Lilston, who is quite simply probably one of the best poets that I know. She's a very creative girl. She's very creative in dance, and she's very creative in poetry and sort of writing and stuff like that. She's an absolute genius when it comes to creativity. And this piece is called I Am Poetry. And if I had to sum this piece up, I would say that it probably contains the best line of poetry that I've ever read in my life. So this is for Jen, and when I said I was going to read this poetry live, she was probably doing cartwheels on the other side of the Atlantic, thinking Carl's going to read my piece. So this is for Jen Walker, who is a brilliant poet but also a very dear friend, and this is called I Am Poetry. In an unopened cage, I remain unrestrained. In the world of black and white, I am colour in your night. On a street without a name, I'm the dancer in the rain. On a ship without a voyage, I'm a gypsy full of courage. In a world so profound, I may seem slave and bound. In times of no chivalry, I remain master and free. In the room of masquerade, I'm the inner child at play. In the asylum of the heart, I'm the voice of poetic art. Thank you very much. Jen can write, Jen can write. Amazing piece that, for one line. On the street without a name, I'm the dancer in the rain. I love that character, Jen's character. So much that I phoned her up in America and said, look, I really want to try and take your dancer character to the next level. So take him from where you've taken him to take him on to more and greater things. And she's like, yeah, okay, that's really brilliant. And I'm like, okay, cheers, Jen, awesome. And as true as I'm standing here, I probably woke up with this next piece on my brain. I think I woke up one Saturday morning at about 8 o'clock and thought, oh, that's a good idea. And from that one line came this piece, and this is called The Dancer in the Rain. The dancer in the rain splashes colour everywhere. Reds and yellows, greens and blues, nothing can compare. Tones and race diversity, as each one plays their part. For the world has been stroked with the brush of poetic art. The dancer in the rain saw skies of blues and oceans deep. Mountains, lakes and rivers were formed in his sleep. A place where black and white can merge, where tones and colours meet. The dancer in the rain took his artwork to the street. The dancer in the rain saw children as the key. No colour lines in innocent eyes, just a mixture of diversity. If the world's to be of colour, then with children's where I'll start. And he took his brush and touched each one with the brush of poetic art. The dancer in the rain saw what he had done, but he also saw the damage that would happen in years to come. I can only create it for everyone to see. If they want to destroy it, well, that's not down to me. The dancer in the rain has tears in his eyes as he takes one last look at fields, lakes and skies. He felt the wind across his face and saw the not so brilliant sun. And as he packed his brushes away, he sighed, my work here is done. So we continue to burn the forests and put holes in the sky. And we continue to ravish crops as demand outgrows supply. And the old man stands weeping, wishing he could explain, with brush in hand against darkening skies, the dancer in the rain. Amazing, amazing, amazing Jen, and that line just kind of really affected me, which is a bit mad, but very cool. Doesn't normally happen, I'm glad it did. Okay, this next piece is a piece called 10. I picked up my pen and I started to write about passion and people and their daily plight, about what they've known and what they could know. I picked up my pen and it started to flow. I wrote about nations, I wrote about towns, the falling of strongholds and walls coming down. I wrote for the weak, unable to stand, and I wrote about healing for a broken land. I wrote about struggles and the colour of skin. I wrote about racism and where to begin. I wrote about the insults that nobody sees, and I wrote for the child in tears as he flees. I wrote about faith and all we perceive. I wrote for the sceptic and for those who believe. I wrote for the sinner the words that atone, and I wrote for the lost that there is a way home. I wrote for the future, what have we done? I wrote about rivers and the blackening sun. I wrote for the mothers whose children are crying, and I wrote for the planet before our eyes dying. I wrote with a fervour all that I'd seen, from the broken and lonely to the poets that dream. And I wrote to inspire each one of them as I closed my eyes and put down my pen. Thanks very much. Okay, is everyone okay? Yeah, everyone can hear okay? Sorry? Okay, cool. This next section is probably quite a tough section to do. It's about the third member of the four, and it's about America. And I don't really understand it, to be honest with you. The only way I can really explain this is that ever since I was about 6 years old, my sister and my mum said I was born in the wrong country. It's just something that connects with me. There's something about her that is kind of embedded in my psyche somewhere. To me, America's a bit like your teenage daughter. You love her with a passion, but you hate some of the things she does. And this is probably the closest I can do to explaining the bonds that me and America have. And a quick story about this piece: I was in a car with my mate Anna, and we were driving home and Anna's not really the kind of girl that sort of you mess with, you know what I mean, and she'll ask you forthright, and she'll be like sort of, you know, ask you questions. She won't beat around the bush, so to speak. So we're driving along and she's like, what is it with you in America? And I'm like, I don't know. And she goes, yeah, you do. And I'm like, no, I really don't. And she goes, yes, you really do. And if I have to stop the car for you to tell me, then I will stop the car for you to tell me. So I'm like, what is it with you in America? It's like, I don't know, Anna, stopping the car. It's like carrying a nation's weight. The minute I said it, a kind of a stone dropped in my stomach, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to be sitting on the floor tonight writing this piece. How right was I? A nation's weight. I'm not sure what it is with her. I'll never understand. What causes me to pray for that great and troubled land is something that connects with me as I sit and contemplate. Lord, I need your strength tonight as I carry a nation's weight. For tonight this nation's heavy, weighed down by all her fears, a lifetime of missed opportunity and all those wasted years. And this thought came to me as I rose from my place. A nation's weight is supported by your love and grace. Was it the Constitution that founded that great nation, where all men were considered free in every generation? But now there's anger and violence flowing from every state. Lord, I need your strength tonight as I carry a nation's weight. For tonight this nation's heavy and she's hurt from what men do. With knives and guns and aeroplanes is no one getting through. And this thought came to me as tears flowed in that place. A nation's weight is supported by your love and grace. Was it a nation's agony that brought tears to my eyes? The tower block and skyline, and we can clearly hear their cries. Was it the fact that she was wounded as some people spoke of fate? Lord, I need your strength tonight as I carry a nation's weight. For tonight this nation's heavy and she's broke by what men say. For her pain is too much to bear and it won't go away. And this thought came to me as I knelt in that place. A nation's weight is supported by your love and grace. Is it the hope that she will turn and once again be whole? You can break a country's spirit, but you can't take a country's soul. Is it the knowledge that she can change and once again be great? Lord, I need your strength tonight as I carry a nation's weight. For tonight this nation's heavy as the expectations grow, and her every move is monitored as the cracks begin to show. And this thought came to me as I rose from my place. A nation's weight is supported by your love and grace. Is it the belief that despite mistakes I know she can be clean, and I know you can take her places of which she can only dream. I know she can find forgiveness before it is too late. Lord, I need your strength tonight as I carry a nation's weight. For tonight this nation's heavy and her future is unsure, and her footsteps have faltered as she begins to walk once more. And this thought came to me as hope dawned in that place. A nation's weight is supported by your love and grace. I'm not sure what it is with her. One day I'll understand. But you know the plans you have for her. She just has to take your hand. And I know that you will help her walk on the narrow and the straight. Lord, may we walk together tonight as we carry a nation's weight. Still don't understand it to this day, but it's just something about her that connects. Obviously she has a checkered history, she has a checkered past, but probably the blackest day for her was September the 11th 2001, when the towers came down. And I was asked by a friend of mine if I'd written anything about that time, and I said no, I haven't. So he goes to me, why not? I said because it's going to be raw, it's going to be kind of like broken, it's going to be short, it's going to be me laying my soul open. He said two things to me. He said, Carl, you're the closest to an American that I know. But he also said, write a collection that nobody sees, just to get it out of your system. just to kind of like get it down on paper. And I was writing another collection at the time, and then this piece came along, and then another piece came along, and another piece came along, and I almost wrote this whole collection subconsciously, even without knowing. And this is the title piece of that collection, and this is called Dust. Dust of a generation settling in the street. Dust of a nation now under my feet. Dust of 1,000 people getting in my eyes. Dust of America now on my shoe lies. Dust of that dreadful day getting everywhere. In your face, on your clothes, in your lungs and hair. Dust of that fateful morn descending like a shroud. Dust of America rising like a cloud. Dust is on the storefronts. Dust is in the sidewalks. Dust is all over us, in our minds and thoughts. Dust has covered everything, everywhere it's thick. The claustrophobic dust cloud is making me feel sick. Dust is in the papers, making the morning news. Dust is in Liberty Street and in the Field Church pews. Dust is in the nation as our people start to pray that the dust of 9/11 might somehow blow away. And with that piece, I just wanted to try and capture what she was going through at that time. And these next couple of pieces take an element of that day and turn it into poetry. And this is called Capture, and this just tries to talk of sort of what she was going through as a nation on that day. Capture. To capture a nation's heartbeat, to capture a nation's pain, as a tower block and skyline shall never be the same. To capture a nation's essence, to capture a nation's tears, to capture a nation's hope in this most tragic of years. To capture a nation's spirit, to look upon a nation's face, to stand beside her at this time in this most desolate place. To capture a nation's desire as she faces her fears, to capture a nation's trust in this most tragic of years. To capture a nation's belief that they are not alone, to take a nation's hand and in it put my own. To capture a nation's strength as restoration nears, to capture a nation's unity in this most tragic of years. To capture a nation's future in these darkest of days, to hold her and to comfort her as she bends and sways, to totally believe in her as restored she reappears, a shining light to everyone in this most tragic of years. And I tried to, for want of a better phrase, capture what a family would go through on that day. And this is called I Can't Live This Day Without You. And it's about a woman whose husband goes off on that day and doesn't come home. I can't live this day without you. I can't live this day without you, now that you're not here. Smoking skies and tower blocks as I realise my worst fear. And I can't live another moment feeling so alone, as it begins to dawn on me that you won't be coming home. I can't live this day without you, the children are growing fast. Freckled faces and golden locks were never meant to last. And I can't live without you seeing just how much they've grown. And how was I supposed to tell them that you won't be coming home? I can't live this day without you, why does it hurt so much? Sometimes I cry in the night just longing for your touch. And I can't live without you standing, supporting all I've known. I can't live this day without you. Can they really feel what I feel? The whole of the country prayed on that day for the hurt to heal. And I can't live with just a memory after the years have flown, as I think back to that dreadful day when you wouldn't be coming home. With A Nation's Wake poem, I tried to write what the bond was between me and America. And this is the last piece before we have a short break. So, you know, we can walk around and chat and do stuff like that. And this is called Friends With Me. And this is about America trying to sit me down and say, look, you know what? I'm not as good as you think I am. And the best way I can describe this, you know when like you go out with your boy or your girlfriend and you have that meal, you know, and you lay your cards on the table and it's like, I'm this, you know, this is what I hope for, this is what I dream about, these are my thoughts, this is whatever. If you still want to be with me, fantastic, let's rock up and be brilliant and be amazing and whatever. But if you don't, then feel free to walk from here with no questions asked and no damage done. And this is kind of like America's reply to A Nation's Wake poem. It's only taken 5 years. But this is called Friends With Me. I'm not as good as you think I am. I have so many faults. Violence erupts from every town because I've mixed with the wrong sorts. I've been used, abused and broken, marked for all to see. And despite you knowing all of this, you want to be friends with me. I have a constitution which now in tatters lies. I've hurt so many people and I'm haunted by their cries. I have a reputation of being wanton and carefree. And despite you knowing all of this, you want to be friends with me. My history is checkered, that you may have found. Union and Confederates fought over hallowed ground. Shiloh and Bull Run, Lincoln, Grant and Lee. And despite you knowing all of this, you want to be friends with me. I've tried to act with honour, but some judgments have been flawed. My footsteps have been tentative and not so self-assured. I've not been the leader that the world wants me to be. And despite you knowing all of this, you want to be friends with me. I know I'm viewed with caution for the allegiances I hold. Some will say that I was right, others will say I would not be told. I always did what I thought was right, sometimes acting unilaterally. And despite you knowing all of this, you want to be friends with me. I've tried to be a voice for the captive and the free, but 9/11, as you well know, was the blackest day for me. I think of all the people who died in that atrocity, and despite you knowing all of this, you want to be friends with me. I value what I have with you, know that our bond is strong. I'm sorry I'm such a weight on you, but you give me strength to carry on. You don't see my scars and bruises, the marks that others see, and despite all that I've told you, you want to be friends with me. I made this choice to stand by you from an early age, to encourage and respect you through writings on a page. People will have their opinions and the world will have its view. But this I know deep in my heart, I'm honoured to be friends with you. Thank you.